Hello, everyone. My name is Michael, and my group partners are Ben, Grace, and Saeed. And today we'll be presenting our proposal on improving waste management at Wayne State University. Before we begin, just a little bit about ourselves. For the project, we had assigned roles, and I was the project manager. I'm also a chemical engineering student at Wayne State University, and I have experience in leadership positions in the workplace. Next, we have Saeed. He was our organizer, and he is an information technology student. He does very well at organizing data and information, hence the reason why he was our organizer. Next, we have Grace. She was our surveyor. She is also a chemical engineering student, and she has experience in application engineering and also experience with past surveys that she has created and sent out. And lastly, we have Ben. He is our contactor, and he is also a chemical engineering student and has a lot of communication experience within the workplace and and outside of the workplace, excuse me. And so now a little bit of background and purpose on why we are doing this, and just a little bit about litter in general. So just to start, we all know that waste comes in many different forms, whether it's plastic, glass, food waste, basically anything that can be disposed of or thrown on the ground, it can be considered waste. And if it is not properly disposed of, this can cause health concerns within the environment and also in the air. And so those who are living within that environment are going to be the ones that are affected. And so now within Wayne State University, there's obviously waste buildup all around campus, and that is not as aesthetically appealing, and that can cause less students and visitors to attend Wayne State University. And so, like I said from before, outside of the health concerns, as I just mentioned, there are things such as people not wanting to visit, and that can impact Wayne State as a whole. And so we have seen some signs of waste management along campus, but these signs and these things are somewhat temporary in the sense that campus is being cleaned up, but again, it is a temporary thing where it is only clean for a certain amount of time, where and after that period of time, it kind of goes back to what it originally looked like. And so now our purpose. What is our purpose? Our purpose is to keep Wayne State University a clean, healthy, and appealing place to be for all. And of course, we want to improve and better the waste management along campus, as I just mentioned before, how everything seems somewhat temporary, and we want to kind of make that permanent. We want everything to be perfect and clean always. And so by doing so, we want to keep existing waste management crews, and we want to better them in a way that we can find a way to once something is cleaned, we want to keep the area clean always. And then we also want to distribute and add new and existing trash bins that'll help minimize the waste all around campus and provide access to those who need to throw something away. And so now our structure for this presentation. So we will move forward with our research and what we did to basically understand why things are happening around campus. And we performed different observational studies, we did surveys, and we also we reviewed peer-reviewed articles, and we will be talking about those. And then we'll go a little bit into our proposed program. After, we're going to talk about our timeline and what we followed to make this happen. And then we'll talk a little bit about our budgeting and the costs that we believe, the amount of money that we need in order to make this proposal work. And then lastly, we'll just go into our concluding thoughts.
Moving into our first research method, we did an observational study. The purpose of this observational study was to understand the current situation of waste management around Wayne State's main campus. And we first looked into finding the relative correlation between the litter on the ground and relative to where these trash cans are. We also looked at to the bin locations where the trash locations are and where they're not. We also looked into seeing how often students use bins, or at least how often the bins get cleaned up used by a clean crew. And so first looking into where the litter is, we noticed that along Williams Mall Strip, there are plenty of bins on that sidewalk in the top figure. They're all within close vicinity, and as you can see that there's very little litter on the ground. Now, along Warren Avenue, on the other hand, there are no trash bins along that sidewalk, which results in accumulation of litter on the ground. One thing we can do is moving some of the excess trash bins along Williams Mall onto Warren Avenue. And so looking into where all the trash bins are, as we can see in the highlighted green areas along Williams Mall Strip, we can see that there are far too many bins for the amount of foot traffic that goes through there. Now for the yellow areas, those are areas that are locations with suitable number of trash bins along with respect to how many people go through there. Now, in the red areas along Warren Avenue and Anthony Wayne Drive, those are places with little to no bins around the sidewalks. And so looking into the cleanup crew part, we can see that 2 days prior to this photo being taken, there was a cleanup crew. And as we can see that litter has accumulated on the ground. This just shows that it doesn't take weeks or months to accumulate litter. It just takes within days for litter to start accumulating on the sidewalk. As we can also see, there are no trash bins along this sidewalk.
So now we're going to look at the survey. The purpose of this survey was to understand how students felt about current waste management on Wayne State's campus and what they believe would help the waste issues. With students being majority of people on campus, most waste comes from them. This means their thoughts and feelings matter in this issue. If we're going to make solutions, we want them to be from students because whatever solutions they provide are the ones they're most likely going to want to do. So on October 21st, the survey was passed out to students. We received about 30 responses, which is an okay number. We were looking for a little bit more, but this number kind of gives us a rough estimate of kind of how students are feeling. And also we're really looking at those solutions that they propose. And then this data helped us understand what students need on campus and what would make their experience here better. So first, we're looking at the cleanliness of Wayne State's campus. So we asked students on a scale of 1 to 10 what they would rate the cleanliness of campus. Around 68% of students rated campus a 7 or higher, while 31% of students rated campus under a 7. And these results do show a majority of students being satisfied with cleanliness on campus. We want to increase that percentage, especially because we're seeing some people lying within that 3 to 4 range, and we'd hope to bump that up to around a 7 just to get like a good number. Now we're going to look at are waste bins regularly maintained on campus. So these results are looking at if students felt waste bins were regularly maintained on campus. 51.7% of students said they were, while 42.9% of students said they sometimes were or they weren't maintained. These results could use some improvement since we always want students to feel they have access to waste bins to prevent pollution. And lastly, we're going to look at availability of waste bins. So this question asked students if they felt waste bins were available to them. Similar to the last results, 58.6% of students said yes, they were, while 41.4% of students said they were not. Again, if there's around 40% of students who feel that there's not always access to a waste bin, we want to do something to minimize that number. Because again, that means that when they're walking, they're not seeing a bin, or there's a bin that's too full and they aren't able to throw their trash in it. So they resort to just throwing on the ground, especially because students don't want to touch light trash inside a trash bin. So now we're going to look at some student solutions and results. So I'm going to talk about a few of those solutions they listed. One being, I believe evenly distributing bins around campus would help reduce the amount of litter. Also, keeping them maintained so they can be used would help. Another one we see is there are too many bins in the walk-up center of campus, spread them out over different streets instead of just one. And lastly, we see promote using the bins more on campus. These answers showed us that students would like more trash bins on campus and for them to be distributed around campus more evenly. These are very similar results that we found in our observational study, which shows that we're kind of seeing exactly what the students are feeling and kind of confirms like when we make our proposed solution, we're making something that not only fits with the students, but things we're actually seeing in our studies. Now I'm going to hand it over to Saeed.
Yeah. So here is the our peer-reviewed research from all our sources. You could see based on the title of each of these sources, um, what their purpose is. So the purpose of our research is to really learn more about the issues of littering by researching other articles and having an understanding on what effects does waste pollution have on the environment and people. We can by these effects on littering on the Wayne State campus, we can learn about these research peer-reviewed articles um, about the solutions from these articles within chemical. And some reasons of like polluting would be things such as maybe trash recycling bins, current cleanup methods which are insufficient in controlling the waste issue, and full trash and recycling bins. So now we're going to transition over to the peer review research. So here, here is our peer review results. Starting with finding a way to get along with people when it comes to social intelligence and environmental hygiene, finding or holding students accountable for littering, which could potentially solve the problem. And the third is providing examples of what can happen when one litters through campaigning, could stop them from littering. And lastly, discuss with students about not littering and having different bins for recycling and trash because everything always makes its way to a trash bin. And the results gotten from the peer review articles gives us an idea of what types of solution that we can also implement into our own solutions. So basically, all these solutions which are solutions that are coming from all the articles that we have found, which is basically placing more trash bins, giving people more fines if they litter, and educating people on why littering and environmental waste are an issue. This will spread awareness of waste issues on a specific environment, such as the campus at Wayne State, and having better waste management.
Now we're going to look at our proposed program. So we want to create a more efficient process for placing trash bins around campus. This should not only reduce waste pollution, but it will also require less maintenance for our waste crews, and it will save overall costs for campus. So new placement, we want 3 bins added along Warren Ave, which you see on the bottom there. This was a street that we saw had no trash bins. So just being able to add or move 3 existing trash bins to that area should kind of reduce the trash buildup we're seeing. We want 4 bins total along Williams Mall. This was an area where we kind of saw some days there was around 7 to 10 trash bins, and some days there was almost none. So just keeping a consistent amount there will help reduce the amount of trash and also make it easier on waste crews to kind of have like a consistent flow of picking up trash. And then 2 bins added along Anthony Wayne Drive. Again, this is an area where we really don't see any trash bins. So adding 2 bins there would be helpful. And also we have a lot of students living around that area. So being able to have bins there that they can kind of throw their trash away would be really useful. And again, I think really important to mention is just educating. We kind of learned that from some of our peer-reviewed articles, but educating students, faculty, and everybody about the new placements and the benefit of throwing away trash and what is trash can always be helpful and just reducing the amount of pollution that we do see on campus.
All right, so going into our timeline, we created this little schedule for us at the beginning of our project, and this was extremely helpful to us as we were able to space out everything that needed to be done. And as we stated before, we did our observational studies, we did our surveys, and we also did our own research on our own. But basically, like I said, this schedule helped us where everything was spaced out and nothing was rushed. So things like the survey, when we created the survey and we passed it out, we didn't have to rush and we didn't have to cut it short, losing some responses. So having the survey ready early was really crucial for us. And then also us doing some observational studies early as well, and just basically walking around campus and noticing these things such as trash bins not being placed in certain areas, or also just waste all over the ground. Once we notice these things, those things are very helpful to see one day, and then maybe the next day, like we noticed, as Ben stated from before, when the waste management crew cleaned up a certain area on campus, we noticed a couple of days after that that area was starting to accumulate more waste buildup. And again, us having that time to notice that and see that was really helpful, as we noticed that these types of fixes that are already happening on Wayne State are, again, temporary and not necessarily permanent. And that's something that we really want to fix. And so then later on, we were able to also, again, do our own research and not rush that research, because we wanted to basically learn a little bit more about why we are doing this, and also see what other people are dealing with outside of our campus, and learn a little bit more about litter and the harms of what it can do. And then lastly, of course, our presentation and our proposal that we have almost basically finished. And so now on to our budget. And this is just a little bit of research that we did about certain trash bins. Now, these trash bins that we chose to look into were trash bins that have entryways on all sides, so 4 different sides, that allows access to basically throwing away your trash from anywhere, from any angle. And we also looked into these ones. Not necessarily, we wanted to obviously choose something that is a decent cost, not something that's not too expensive, but something that will also be very effective. And so, looking into a little bit of different websites and commercial websites, we noticed that the average cost would be around $210. And so when we move on to the next slide, we see that basically, like Grace stated before in our proposed program, that we want to implement a total of 9 different trash bins along campus, 4 being on Williams Mall, 2 on Anthony Wayne Drive, and then 3 on Warren Avenue. Now, again, this would be our total cost if we had no trash bins, or if we had to add more trash bins. So our total cost would have been roughly $1,900. Now, again, we did say that we really want to look into distributing these trash bins, such as, like we said, Williams Mall has sometimes too many trash bins, has sometimes the right amount, and we want to keep that the right amount at 4. And if we can take the trash bins that are being added on Williams Mall and move them around, and then implement new ones by purchasing new ones, that would not only save us money and not have to pay the cost that we see on our screen right here, and maybe pay a little bit less, of course, but also it provides actually better efficiency, because we get to move trash bins that are in areas that are already filled with trash bins, and that don't serve too much of a purpose, and we can move them to areas like on Warren Avenue, where there are no trash bins, and we noticed a lot of trash buildup all around campus. And so, just a little bit of our concluding thoughts. We want to keep Wayne State's environment the best that it can possibly be, and of course, that is our number one priority. So even the smallest things that are done can make the biggest impact, whether it is, again, implementing 1, 2, 4 trash bins around campus. That will have a huge impact on certain areas along campus that don't have any trash bins at all, and basically providing access to a trash bin, to whoever's in that area. And then, like I said, also providing clean and empty trash bins for students, staff, and visitors, because not only do we want to provide a certain number of trash bins, we also want them to be empty and clean so that they can actually use them, of course. And so, like what we stated from before, our main goal here is to basically properly place these trash bins, whether they are new ones or they are existing ones. We can take from other areas and we can implement them in other areas, or we can, of course, purchase certain ones that need to be purchased. And yeah, and basically that's it. So thank you guys for listening. Please feel free to ask questions, to also provide feedback. We would highly appreciate it. And you can contact me, and so you can reach out to me. And thank you.